Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash, and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. And I just want to touch on this lesson. I was, just reading, meditating, of course, right, just through the Holy Spirit, and the Spirit gave me this lesson to go into, which that which is then is now, right? And the mindset that Jake has as it pertains to trusting in oppression, right? Trusting in these various different false gods, right? Idols, right? In modern day, you have the idol that Jake trusts in is the power structure of Esau Edom, and something that came to my mind. I was reading in the scriptures, the book of Psalms 106, where the writer of this Psalms was just speaking on the various different scenarios or circumstances that we were in, and how the Lord would deliver us out of captivities, or deliver us out of certain oppressions, and yet Israel continued to backslide, right? Israel continued to go to a way that the Lord commanded them not to do. All right. And something that is that was particular that caught my attention was when they were speaking about in the time of us exiting out of Egypt, and we were in the wilderness, and in that whole event was the Lord showing his mercy, right, and showing his miraculous power, okay, to deliver us out of the hand of the Egyptians, out of the hand of them that were stronger than us, right? And we didn't have to do anything except just trust in the Lord, right? And Jake has a Jake can't do that. That's why it tells you in the book of Deuteronomy that this is a children in whom there is no faith, okay? And really it's only the elect, the remnant of Israel, that truly believes, right, on the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And liking that to today, as we still see. And what I was thinking, what came to my mind was the fact that you had Israel, right? They chose Trump, right? They chose Trump, right? They went out there and voted, and they got duped and swooped into thinking that all of the economic woes, and the financial problems, right? The standard of living that was being destroyed here in America, that was going to be fixed, through the Trump administration. You see, and that is the reason why a lot of our people, went out there and, did vote for Trump, right? They were, supporters of the Trump administration, right? And we're not on either side, right? And we always say that, we are not Democrats or Republicans, because this is not our rest. Okay, but when you look at retrospectively, right, hindsight, look at what has happened, right, as what you get, the title, right, their desire has become their destruction. You see, because they desired Trump because he was speaking about making the economy greater, right, and making the standard of living being brought back to a place where everybody would be successful. Okay, he was speaking about ending wars, right, and bringing peace to the world, and all of these promises, which were nothing but empty lies. You see, so now that he is in office, right, now that he is doing doing what his doing his job, you have now a lot of Israelites, right, and a lot of them that voted for him, a lot of them now are lamenting, right? A lot of them now are, you know, upset and afraid and scared, you know, about what their future looks like. Okay, and you know, he just said today that he was going to go into Chicago, right? He already went to you know, DC. He also said he's going to go into Baltimore, right? And when we talk about going into those states, he's speaking about, you know, with the militarized federal law enforcement. You see, and that, as we've been telling you, right, is martial law. Okay, that is, you know, what they're gearing up to do. Matter of fact, I just seen something else. I don't know if I posted it in here. Let me see if I can find it. Um, you had the Washington D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, right, which is what appears to be a Jake, right? She says has signed an order mandating DC police to assist with federal law enforcement, which will require indefinitely. See? So she just signed a mandate that the DC police and you know, will have to work and assist with the federal law enforcement indefinitely. So now they have full range to, you know, go up in there, and you have a so-called Jake woman that is the one that's selling, you know, that is allowing, you know, quote unquote allowing, right, um, the federal law enforcement to basically police DC. Okay, and over there in Illinois, you had the governor said that there's right here it says Illinois Governor Pritzker says we have reason to believe that the Trump administration has already begun staging the Texas National Guard for deployment in Illinois. You see, because the what is it, the Chicago or Illinois National Guard, I believe, is under the authority of the governor. So the governor is not going to enact the Chicago or the Illinois National Guard. So what Trump is doing is using the Texas National Guard, right, which Texas is a so-called red state, to have them go to Illinois and govern, you know, and militarize, you know, the streets, right, and to be the law enforcement in the streets of Chicago. You see, so that's going to, you know, be and I think I did a video on it, or I might have spoke of it at camp, where, you know, somebody that I know that is in the National Guard, they were speaking, you know, I asked them how would the National Guard, which is, you know, American citizens, how would they turn on the American people, right, and, you know, become treat them as, you know, enemies. And what they basically told me was what is happening right now, that they're not going to use the National Guard of you know, those states, because the National Guard of those states, they, you know, have close ties, right, to the people of that state. You know, they can have family members, they can have friends, right, X, Y, and Z. So what they're going to do is what you're seeing, using other states, particularly red states, right, National Guard, to go to blue states. So you have, in, like, for example, in Texas, the National Guard, I don't know the demographics, but you can imagine that the National Guard in Texas has, you know, a certain demographic of Edomites, right? And these Edomites in Texas, you know, we know that a lot of those Edomites over there, you know, those are those redneck, you know, hillbilly, right, type of Edomites. They go over to Chicago and they get orders, right? If you spit, we hit, right? Or they get orders to basically, you know, go up into the inner cities of Chicago, and they're looking at now the people that are in those inner cities, which is primarily Jake, right? They're looking at them as the enemy. So they are looking at, although those Jakes in Chicago are citizens, in their mind, nah, they're enemies, right? And we have a mission to do, and if anybody stands in our way of doing this mission, then, right, we can treat them as, foreign enemies. You see? So I say all that to say that the desire that Jake initially, the desire that Jake had, which is why they went out in record numbers to, put Trump in office. Now that desire has turned into their destruction, and that is a theme, right, that has been, seen in the scriptures. So what you have here, let me get this, the book of Psalms 106. Psalms chapter 106, start at 12. It says, they believed his words, they sang his praises. It says, but then, right, they forgot, or it says, they soon forgate his works. They waited not for his counsel. Okay? And now this is speaking about, the Israelites when they were in the wilderness. All right, because they wanted, reading this excerpt, it says, in the wilderness, the Israelites were so intent on getting food and water, they wanted that they became blind to what the Most High wanted. They were more concerned about immediate physical gratification than lasting spiritual satisfaction. They did not want what was best for them. They refused to trust in the Most High's care and provisions. See, and that story is in the book of Numbers, the 11th chapter, right? Which, I'll pull up some of that as well. And the point is, as it says, they waited not for his counsel. All right, because why? Because they wanted their desires. They wanted to consume, the lust of the flesh, and that is exactly, what you have happening now, right? The fact of why Trump can boast in, so many millions of Latino votes, right? So many millions of black votes is because they thought, right? Those Israelites that voted for him, right? They were looking at the fleshly benefits that he was speaking that he was going to bring. Okay. Although, you had the men of the Lord out here, which, right, the Lord, through his men, right, the prophets, that is how he gives you the counsel, right? But they despised that counsel. Okay. They didn't want none of that reproof. You see? So now that desire that they had for the flesh has now been turned into their destruction. And, Trump, said it, right? And that's in that little speech he gave. You knew I was a snake before you let me in. Okay, so reading on, it says, but lusted exceedingly in the wilderness and tempted the Most High, and he gave them their requests. See that? So the Lord gave you your requests. He gave you what you wanted. You wanted Trump, right? You wanted to make America great again, which that's not going to happen. But you wanted the way, right, that Trump was going to make America great again. Well, you didn't consider that him making America great again was going to be at your expense. Okay, because he is basically saying that the reason why America isn't great is because of you Israelites. Is because, and that's why he got rid of the so-called DEI programs, which mostly benefited Edomites anyway, right? And that's factual, okay? That there's empirical evidence that supports that. But he got rid of DEI, which a lot of Jake women, right, that was in the federal government got fired because of it. He's getting rid of a lot of these government assistant programs, okay, which you have a lot of, not majority of it, but you have a lot of Jake that are on those programs as well. And then now, what is he doing? He's going, after Jake in their actual neighborhoods. You see, he's targeting Jake in their actual neighborhoods. So that's why it says, but lusted after Salaki, and he says he gave them their request. So the Lord gave you what you wanted. I'm gonna read this in the NLT. It says, in the wilderness, their desires ran wild, testing the Most High's patience in that dry wasteland. So he gave them what they asked for, but he sent a plague along with it. You see that? he sent a plague along with it. Because when you go into the story of, you know, the in the wilderness, Jake was murmuring about the you know, the manna and not having food and not having meat rather, okay, and was complaining unto the Lord, or complaining unto Moses that, you know, this manna isn't sufficient enough, even though it was, right, but it wasn't sufficient to their taste buds. They wanted meat, okay, although they was getting literally fed with angels food every day. They didn't have to go and work for it. They didn't have to go and find it. They didn't have to do anything, right? The Lord was bringing bringing food down, right, from that chariot every morning. But yet, because they wanted the lust of their flesh, they started murmuring and they said they wanted meat. So when the Lord gave them that meat, he also brought a plague along with it, because as it says in Numbers, the 11th chapter, right? Let's get that real quick. Numbers 11. Numbers 11, verse 33. It says, I'm starting at 32. It says, and the people, I'm going to read this in the NLT. So the people went out and caught quail all that day and throughout the night and all the next day too. No one gathered less than 50 bushels. They spread the quail all around the camp to dry. But while they were gorging themselves on the meat, you see? So you got to imagine that, okay? They were gorging themselves, being just, you know, brute beasts about it, right? And you imagine, you know, somebody just at a dinner table and just grabbing things and just trying to eat it, and, you know, in haste, right? Not having no table etiquette, as they would call it today. It says, while they were gorging themselves on the meat, and while it was still in their mouths, the anger of Yahweh blazed against the people, and he struck them with a severe plague. Okay? And he struck them with a severe plague. So that place was called Kibroth Hattaavah, which means graves of gluttony, because there they buried the people who had craved meat from Egypt. See? So they craved the meat from Egypt because they were murmuring about, oh, we in Egypt, we had the leeks and we had the cucumbers, we had the onions and we had the garlic, and all we have out here is manna, right? And they were constantly complaining, not being thankful, right, about you know, that the Lord was sustaining them, not being grateful about, you know, that the Lord was giving them food. They would say, nah, this isn't enough. So the Lord said, all right, you want something, I'm gonna give it to you. But what he gave, okay, what it came with was also a plague. Okay, let's read this, another one here in the book of Psalm 78, verse 29. It says, the people ate their fill. He gave them what they craved. See? So he says the people ate their fill. He gave them what they craved. But before they satisfied their cravings, while the meat was yet in their mouths, the anger of the Most High rose against them, and he killed their strongest men. He struck down the finest of Israel's young men. See? So that is what you see happening right now as well. Okay, that is the connection. Because just like how back then they weren't satisfied with the counsel, right, that the Lord was giving them and the mercy that the Lord was giving them. So they chose to complain, and they chose that we want Egypt. We want what we got in Egypt. See? Although they were in bondage, although they were in captivity, although Pharaoh was chasing after them and wanted to kill them, they wanted to go, once again, it says they trusted in oppression. Okay? They trusted in that oppression because of the small benefits, right, lustly benefits that they had. Or should I say fleshly benefits that they had. Okay, so now let's get this in Jeremiah, because there's another example of this. Jeremiah chapter 42. Let's start at verse 2. It says, and said unto Jeremiah the prophet, let us beseech thee, our supplications be accepted before thee, and pray for us unto the Lord thy power, even for all of this remnant. For we are left but a few of many, as thine eyes do behold us. that the Lord Yahweh thy God may show us the way wherein we may walk, and the thing that we may do. So you have these captains basically went to Jeremiah, the prophet, the man of the Lord, and asked Jeremiah, let us know that what we should do, right? In the backstory, if you want to go and read it, just give a quick synopsis, is that you had the Babylonians coming, against the southern kingdom, Judah, and they didn't know what to do, because there was a council that they should go to Egypt, right, and partner with Egypt and trust in the power of Egypt so that they could escape the wrath that the Babylonians were coming with. So they went to Jeremiah, right, and asked Jeremiah, let us know if we should do this or if we should stay here, right, in Jerusalem. Okay, so verse 4 says, then Jeremiah the prophet said unto them, I have heard you. Behold, I will pray unto the Lord your God according to your words. And it shall come to pass that whatsoever thing that Yahweh shall answer you, I will declare it unto you. I will keep nothing back. Then they said to Jeremiah, Yahweh be a true and faithful witness between us, if we do not even according to all the things for the which the Lord Yahweh shall send thee to us. Whether it be good or whether it be evil, we will obey the voice of Yahweh our God, to whom we send thee, that it may be well with us when we obey the voice of Yahweh our God. You see? So they made this agreement that they were going to, obey what the Lord says. Just like how in Psalms 106, it said that they didn't wait for his counsel. See? So here, I'm going to jump. It says, let's see, verse 11, it says, verse 10, it says, and if ye will still abide in this land, speaking about Jerusalem, Judea, then will I build you, this is the Lord speaking, and not pluck you down. I will plant you and not pluck you up, for I repent of me the evil that I have done unto you. Be not afraid of the king of Babylon, of whom ye are afraid. Be not afraid of him, saith the Lord, for I am with you to save you and to deliver you from his hand. And I will show you mercies. I will show mercies unto you, that he may have mercy upon you, and cause you to return to your own land. But if ye say, we will not dwell in this land, neither obey the voice of Yahweh your God, saying, no, but we will go into the land of Egypt, where we shall see no war, nor hear no sound of the trumpet, nor have no hunger of bread, and there will we dwell. And now therefore hear the word of the Lord, ye remnant of Judah. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, if you wholly set your faces to enter into Egypt and to go to sojourn there, then it shall come to pass that the sword which ye feared shall overtake you there in the land of Egypt, and the famine whereof ye were afraid shall follow you close after you there in Egypt, and there shall ye die. You see? So the point is, the Lord told him, don't go to Egypt. Don't trust in Egypt, right? Stay here, and the Lord will show you mercy. He will have favor upon you, right? But because Jake being rebellious, right? Jake having the desire, right, according to the flesh, right, and not looking at the desire of the spirit, not trusting in the Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, they did what? They said, you know what? We not listening to you. Okay, we're not gonna listen to what you're telling us, Jeremiah. Right? We're gonna go to Egypt. Right? But let's continue. It says, so it shall be with all the men that set their faces to go into Egypt to sojourn there, they shall die by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence, and none of them shall remain or escape from the evil that I bring upon them. For thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, as my anger and my fury have been poured forth upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem, so shall my fury be poured forth upon you when ye shall enter into Egypt, and ye shall be an execration and an astonishment and a curse and a reproach, and ye shall see this place no more. Thus saith Yahweh concerning you. Okay? So The Lord said, if you go and trust in Egypt and not trust in him, then that's going to be a curse unto you. And that's exactly what's happening right now. You trust into Egypt, as it says in Isaiah the 30th chapter, which basically is the same, it's the same warning, right, that Jeremiah was given. Isaiah 30 verse 1, woe unto the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, right? And the Lord has constantly been pouring out the counsel, right? The Lord has been saying, wait, trust and wait upon him in this time, right? Don't look at, oppression. Don't look at, well, Trump could do this for us, right? When Trump was in office before, we was getting those stimulus checks, the inflation rate, the housing, the interest rates were low, X, Y, and Z. So, we should put Trump back in office, right? Where we should go out and vote, right, for Trump. Okay, we were in a better position. But it says, you are rebellious children because you take counsel, but not of the Lord, right? But not of me, and cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. And that's ultimately why Jake wanted Trump to win, because they wanted to stay in Babylon so they could stay basically continuing in their wickedness, continuing in their folly, right? Not seeking the Lord, not turning and repenting, right, from their wickedness, but they wanted to continue just to be of a fleshly mind, which is at enmity with the Most High. That's why it says, so that they can add sin unto sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. And that's where we at right now. You see, you are now trusted in Egypt, but now it's into your shame, into your confusion. And as we have said, these things that are happening, Trump, the way he's moving, these are only just the beginning of it, man. It's going to get worse and worse. They're going to be like madmen sparing none, and Jacob's trouble is going to be upon all of you wicked ass Israelites that wanted to trust in Egypt, that wanted to go back to Egypt. It's the same spirits coming back, right? And that's why the Lord said that ye shall not enter into his rest. Okay, those wicked spirits, those wicked Israelites back then that was in the wilderness, that was murmuring, they didn't enter into the Holy Land. Okay, the Lord destroyed that whole generation. But this time, right, the Lord is going to save the remnant that's in this generation that don't want to go to, that doesn't trust in Egypt. Okay, that trusts and takes the counsel of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Those are the ones that's going to be delivered, but the rest is going to die here in Egypt when this place gets burned up. But before that, all of the plagues, right, the famines, the astonishment, the curse is going to fall upon you. Those that joined unto it shall be thrust through. All right, so there's more to this, but I gotta hit Bible study. So Lord willing, this was edifying unto the elect, giving all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Shalom.